Today we are going to do an experiment. It's called the Hershey's Kiss Heat Experiment. And what this experiment is going to help us prove is whether or not heat has any type of condition or has a response to when you use heat. Does it change any type of the physical properties? And so we've been studying a little bit about heat, and I thought this would be a fun experiment. If you're allowed to do it at home, then maybe you could ask your mom or dad to do this. So the very first thing that we want to prove or see what happens is what will happen if you hold a Hershey's Kiss in your hand for 3 minutes. So what I want you to think about, and I want you to make a prediction. Do you think it will melt? It will not melt very much, it will melt a little, or it will melt a lot. Okay, so that's what I want you to choose. Either it will melt not very much, it will melt a little, or it will melt a lot. Okay, and what I did was I went ahead and got my Hershey's Kisses ready, and I went ahead and unwrapped them, of course, because you don't want to do this experiment without. And I have a timer, which is going to be my phone. And I'm going to put 3 minutes on the timer to be fair. And remember, when we're doing this, we have to hold the Hershey Kiss in our hand completely. So it has to be closed. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and take off my rings too, because I don't want them all getting gooey. I also have a napkin just in case to clean up my mess. Alright, so I'm getting ready to get started with this experiment. So here's a Hershey Kiss. It's unwrapped. Again, you should have already made your prediction here. Okay, and I'm going to hit the start button. So while notice that I'm keeping my hand closed completely, and I want you to make sure that that if someone was to walk in when you're doing this, that you're not stopping. And notice that you can kind of see some of the pressure that I'm putting. I want to see if the heat from my hand, my body temperature is usually is anywhere from 97.5 to 98.6 is the human body's temperature. Mine runs a little bit lower. So with that, is the heat from my body going to transfer to the Hershey Kiss that's in my hand within 3 minutes? I want to see exactly what happens to the Hershey Kiss. So again, you should have already made the prediction. Do you think it's going to melt? It's not going to melt very much. It will melt a little bit, or it's going to melt a lot. And this is really good to know, because again, if you think about a human body's temperature, 98.6 degrees is really hot. I mean, you've been standing outside when it's been 90 degrees and you're like sweating. Well, if my body is, my average temperature is about 97.5, and so mine's slightly lower than most, but will that heat transfer? So I'm going to look at my timer really quickly again, and it says that I have about 1 minute 33 seconds left in this experiment. And so I am holding the Hershey Kiss in my hand. I took off my rings because if it was going to be melty, I didn't want to get all over my rings. And I'm really not putting any pressure. All I'm doing is holding it tightly in my hands. The timer says 1 minute 7 seconds, so I'm continuing to hold, and as soon as the timer goes off, then I'm going to open my hand and I'm going to see what did the heat transfer from my hand, my body. Did it melt the Hershey Kiss at all? So it'll be interesting to see. So hopefully you're already thinking about the heat transfer, how heat can cause things to melt, not melt. What would it mean for 3 minutes if I'm holding it tight? I'm not crushing it, but notice I've not changed the position of my hand at all. I have about 19 more seconds, 18 more seconds. And so we'll see what happens when the timer goes off, and I'll open up and we'll see if your prediction was correct. So you see there's about 5 more seconds, and timer just went off. Okay, I'm going to stop it. Okay. Now I'm going to slowly open my hand so you can see what happens. So part of it crushed off. There's two little pieces. But did it melt very much? And you can see my hand how red it is because I was holding it tight. So if you said you do not think it was going to melt very much, you were correct. Now, something I want you to think about is, what if I would have said 5 minutes versus 3 minutes? Or what if I would have said 8 minutes? Okay, so this is something to think about. All right, the next part of this experiment is, and I'm going to get another Hershey Kiss because I want one that's not heated. The next part of this Hershey Kiss is, what will happen if I place a Hershey Kiss under the blow dryer for 3 minutes? Okay, I have a blow dryer already hooked up. Okay, so I'm going to move everything out of the way. I'm going to even move my paper out of the way because I'm kind of thinking that it might melt. But again, you need to make a prediction. Will it melt? But how much will it melt? Okay, 3 minutes. Here's my blow dryer. And I'm going to turn it on. And I've got to be careful because of the cord. I'm going to have it on hot. I don't know if you can see that. Hot. And we'll do it on high. All right, here we go. Let me get my timer ready. Okay, I'm starting. I'm going to cancel the timer. Okay, I can tell you that got hot. Now let's see. If you're looking at it, I'm going to zoom in. It really doesn't look like it's melted that much, but if look here. Look what happens when I press it. So that hard candy coating made it look like it hadn't melted. But look at it. The only part that did not melt, and by the way, this is delicious to lick. The only part that did not melt was the external part, which it did once you pushed on it. So if you said, I'm going to move this so that I don't get that, you thought that it would melt a lot, your prediction was correct. Because as you can see, it melted a lot. Okay, I hope you had fun with this experiment. Try this at home. Make sure you get your parents' permission. Thanks.